Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I hope you all in good conditions. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Anggun Pertiwi. I'm a college student from Universitas Negeri Padang, majoring English Educations. In this video, I will present an article. It's about EFL teacher educators' experiences in a teaching critical reading evidence from Indonesia. And by the way, this article was written by Muhammad Yunus and M. Farouk Ubaidillah. Okay, now, can we move on to the next slide? Okay. There are five table of contents of these presentations. The first one is abstract, and the second one is introduction, and next is method, discussion, and this last one is conclusions. Okay, now let's talk about abstract. There is a paucity of research that examining teachers, educators' conceptions of teaching critical reading in the EFL context. To fill the gap, this phenomenological study probes into EFL teachers, educators' experiences in the teaching critical reading. It specifically looks at teachers, educators' conceptions of teaching critical reading and how their teaching practices contribute to the development of students' critical skills. And data were generated through in-depth interviews with 9 teacher educators in a private university in Malang, Indonesia. The study also documents that teaching critical reading encompasses higher order thinking skills enacted of pedagogic trainings for teachers, educators, in order to construe their basic tenets of teaching critical reading. And next is about introduction. Element and Oslot comment that the efforts of enhancing comprehension in reading that covers active process by which students focus on their prior knowledge, vocabulary, inferences, and comprehensions monitoring skills. It means comprehension active generally involve reading textbook, answering questions, identifying main ideas, synthesizing ideas, and summarizing what is read to demonstrate a well-attained understanding. And then the second one is Sanaati mentioned that the general emphasis of teaching EFL reading is on word knowledge. Thus, EFL classroom activities are aimed at enhancing student grammatical and vocabulary mastery. The cognitive view, on the other hand, sees a reading skill as a skill that can be broken down a set of sub-skills involved in both decoding and comprehension. This cognitive view of teaching EFL reading is not enough to support students to understand a text critically. The need to present a social role in reading crucial, which is called the sociocultural theory prose by Vygotsky in 1978. And based on the recent study, Sutherland and Inchera mentioned that reading skills, the reading skill are more useful learning by spending more time teaching the skill. The study shed light on the importance of knowledge, faculty's perception on critical reading, to improve the indicators of teaching these skills to the students in university context. Next, still about introduction, but these are two research questions guide the study. The first one is, to what extent are teacher educators' conception of teaching critical reading, and how do their teaching practices contribute to the development of students' critical reading skills? And next, we talk about method. The first one is design. The present study was situated in English Education Department of a private university in Malang, East Java, Indonesia, which investigate the English teacher educators' experiences of teaching critical reading to EFL students. This study generates the transcendental phenomenology approach by Crosswell, which focus on participants given description of experiences to portray an essence of such a lived experiences. And next one is let's move on to the participants. As I mentioned before, there are nine participants, as you can see in the chart, that are uh, chart with the female, which is female participant, and the orange chart is of male participants. And this is the number on the on the left side is the how many experiences the participant have done. As you can see, the first participant is which female had 2 years experiences of teaching English in the school, and the highest, the longest experiences goes to female. I'm sorry, goes to male, which is he has 4 years participants. And there are three reasons were held why the present study was situated in one institution with the requited participant. First, the university's curriculum specifies that the English department offers a course in reading ranging from reading 1 up to reading 4 with different objectives. And the second reason is accessibility. It was easier to interview participants working in the same situation rather than spreading out in a different location during the COVID-19 pandemic, because conducting a phenomenology study takes much time and in-depth interview with the participant. Accessibility into one institution where the first author of this paper also works with is possible. The third reason is pertains to the qualification of the participants. They have a relatively adequate experiences in teaching reading in for some years. They would be able to provide a comprehensive and detailed data during the interview sessions. And then data in the study were generated through multiple in-depth interviews and with the participant, as I mentioned before. The interview for each participant lasts around 45 until 60 minutes. All participants use Bahasa Indonesia and English language interchangeably during the interview session, which allow for the dynamic share voice during the conversations. And all interviews were recorded, transcribed, and translated into English for further analysis. To maintain the quality of the translated transcript, the researchers The researchers asked the participants to comment on it and give feedback for improvement. Further, the researchers did multiple and repeated readings on the transcript to gain a global understanding of the data. And next is about findings. There are three findings. The first one is basic conception of teaching critical reading. On interview other participant, it is believed that critical reading involves the process of constructing meaning from written. The text involves a higher order of thinking. Teaching critical reading from a philosophical lens. Interestingly, answered by a philosophical perspective, teaching critical reading involves a specified approach. According to the participant, teaching approach of critical reading involves letting students take risks, guiding and motivating them, optimizing the social, cultural, and the dialogue perspective, and encouraging students to be more autonomous. And the third finding is empowering learners with critical reading in reading classes. This type of reading program allows students to read a large number of texts, providing them with the solid background knowledge that is useful for critical reading. Their solid background knowledge could be used as a counter argument in later activities. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Is about discussion. Critical reading aims at understanding what is not written in the text. Explicitity, such as finding out the author's purpose or attitude toward the topics, making inferences, and finding hidden messages. Critical reading is more complex domain than traditionally held teachings, and teachers should be able to provide students with collaborative conversation to discover the meaning of the text. To present study three salient issue of concerning teacher conception of teaching critical reading in tertiary EFL settings, basic conception, philosophical basis, and critical reading empowerment. The study highlights that the participating teachers perceive teaching critical reading as a more complex domain than the traditionally held teachings. This informs further the reading is a dialogue activity that students to do, comprehend text, and enact their higher order thinking skills through critical questions. Okay, now the last one is about conclusion. We move to the conclusions. The present study attempt to uncover teacher conception of teaching critical reading and how to contribute the student reading skills development. The findings reveal the teachers educators experiences in teaching critical reading cover three salient issues. First one is basic conception of teaching critical reading, and the second one is teaching critical reading from a philosophical lens, and the last one is empowering learner with critical thinking in reading classes. The study also portrayed the based on the interview with the participant. Teaching critical reading involves higher order thinking skill as a evidence of a text being understood with deeper understanding by combining the critical thinking skill in process of reading. It infers the teaching that teaching critical reading starts from comprehending a text, utilizing the linguistic process, then optimizing higher order thinking skill through higher order thinking questions. Okay, I hope, okay, I think that's all from me. I'm sorry for any mistake that I made. I hope you all understand my presentation. If you have any question, please write in the comment box. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.